Hey Wargamers, welcome back again. We've got another mech review courtesy of Death from Above Wargaming. Tonight, we're sticking with the theme. We're going with another assault mech, but this time an inner sphere variant of the King Crab. Now this one rolled out in 3052, just ahead of the Battle of Tuckeyed. This is the King Crab KGC-001, aka the Clan Buster. This one is awesome. I love this mech. Twin Gauss Rifles, 2 SRM2s, actually Streak SRM2s, large pulse laser, LRM-15. This is just another stone cold killer. We talked about, and I think I used those exact words when talking about the Warhawk. So I was really excited to kind of put this one through the paces in Battlytics and see where it shakes out. Now this one, substantially cheaper than the Warhawk. I almost wish I did a side-by-side comparison. But this one's in the 2200s for BV, and again, it's got those 2 Gauss rifles. They can hit hard, almost no heat. It does have an XL engine though, so that could be its Achilles heel. I'm curious to see how it shakes out. I think you guys will too, so stay around, don't go anywhere guys. King Crab action coming right up. All right, so here we are, the King Crab. Everybody knows I love this mech. It's so cool. I love the notion of this sort of the crab claws with the guns. You know, it's just I love what they did in the Mech Warrior 5 intro. Just so cool. So this one though, this one's a little bit different than the rest of its cousins. When you think of King Crab, you think of AC-20. It's like peanut butter and jelly. They always go together. This particular variant, though, something a little bit different. So let's talk about the stats first. So it's a battle value of 2,221. Obviously, inner sphere technology produced in 3052 by Comstar, specifically to bust up some clans on the Battle of Tuckeyed. So movement profile is 3.5, so slow as turds. This is your pretty standard for your King Crab. Dissipation 13, also awful and standard for a King Crab. But again, you know, the new weaponry here does free up some heat load, as we will see. It is equipped with an XL engine and ferrofibrous armor. Ferrofibrous armor, 16.5 tons. It's almost 100% coverage, 96.1, just a little bit light in the torsos and the legs. And if you look at that central diagram, it looks pretty well covered. Again, maxed on the arms to really protect those primary weapons. No lower or hand actuators, but the good news is those Gauss rifles located in the left and right arms. These guys can fit in there. They're not split across multiple sections, and you can stuff 2 tons of ammo in there as well. So that's a real big benefit of having those Gauss rifles versus those AC-20s, which spilled over in like the original King Crabs. Still has the LRM-15, which is great for long-range fire support, but still only has 1 ton of ammo. Comstar decided it would be cooler to put on a pair of Streak SRM2s, each with their own ton of ammo, which seems like an absurd amount of SRM2 shots to me. But hey, you know, who am I to question Comstar? And lastly, the large laser, upgraded to a large pulse laser. I don't know how I feel about them. I mean, I don't really like large lasers to begin with. Large pulse lasers, I don't know, the -2 is nice, but the range is so subpar, the heat is so high. It's a tough weapon. We'll have to see how it shakes out in the offensive benchmark. Another important thing about this King Crab, though, case on the left torso, case on the right torso. That protects all that missile ammo that's in there. Again, this thing packing 3 tons of volatile ammo, and then those Gauss rifles themselves can be hit. Remember, guys, Gauss ammo does not explode, just the rifles when they take a critical hit, and I believe that's a 25-point shot. So, speaking of offense and things blowing up, let's take a look at the benchmarks. Okay, so first things first, let's look at the baseline. Really good. So baseline benchmark here, 301.3. That's superb. Now again, at the baseline, we cap the heat to 4 points. So let's look at the red line benchmark. Red line benchmark tells a little bit of a different story. You can see the damage tanks quite a bit from that 301 to about 226. So that's 75 points of damage over 12 turns. That is not a small or insignificant amount of damage. So heat management is very important with this mech, even though it's got those Gauss rifles. And a lot of that is courtesy of that large pulse laser. So you can see right at 10 inches, you can start building up heat, right? You've got the LRM going, you've got the Gauss Rifles going, and now you got the pulse laser going as well. So that thing can basically get up and ride that red line pretty aggressively all the way through to the end of that benchmark. So there is an opportunity to optimize this thing. How does it shake out? Well, there is some, there's some play with the large pulse, right? You can fire it, you can lay off it, you can fire it, you can lay off of it. Those Gauss Rifles, obviously, you're just spamming those things, holding down the trigger all day long. Basically, what you can do is you can up the damage by another 4%. So you can get it from 301 to about 313. And that's, again, that's another 10, 11, 12 points of damage over the course of 12 turns. So really you're averaging another point per turn. Is it significant at this volume of damage? Probably not. And so that almost lends me to believe that you could probably drop or not shoot the large pulse laser except for a backup weapon. You could definitely drop those Streak SRM2s, just in my opinion. Your Gauss Rifles are doing most of the work here alongside that LRM-15. But all things considered, this mech, very, very, very scary. I'm curious to see the lethality. Again, packing those 2 Gauss Rifles, you would expect a lot of head kills, but let's see. Ooh, this looks very similar to the Warhawk that we just looked at a little while ago. This thing, very scary. So time to kill right off the bat, 5.9. I think the Warhawk was a little bit better, but this thing just terrifying. And I feel like the Warhawk was about 13.7% on the head kills, if my memory serves me right. This one at 12.8%, 85% on the just normal coring out or basically just core destruction, and then 1.8% on the engine kill. So again, pegging 100%. This one comes a little bit later though, right around 10 inches, but overall, still really good. The damage per hit at 8.6, it's so high. 3.1 critical hits, and again, we talked about the time to kill at 5.9. So this mech is scary. This mech will lay down some pain, no doubt about it. Can it survive? Let's take a look at the defensive benchmarks. All right, so first things first, survivability curve. So 83.7%. Now that is okay. Remember, this is a mech that it's a 100-ton mech that has 96.1% armor coverage, 295 pips of armor. So why isn't it higher? Well, you've got 7% attributed to ammunition death, which blows my mind. And this is because you've got 50 rounds of SRM2 ammo. In like the order of least favorite ammunitions in the game, it's like machine gun and SRM2 ammo. You got 50 rounds. There's no need to have 2 tons of onboard SRM2 ammo, but such is life. It has it regardless. And you can see late in the game that those ammo kills, once the armor starts degrading, there's an inflection point. They pick up pretty rapidly. Engine deaths, 2.2%. So this is really courtesy of that XL engine. Again, you take out a side torso, you take out the mech. The other piece here is you blow up any of the ammo in the side torso, case or not. You blow up the mech, right? Because even though case will stop it from transferring, you're still taking out 3 criticals on the engine. So sort of stinks in that regard. Just unfortunate placement. And again, having all that SRM ammo, it just, I would love to have seen this mech without the SRMs. Just drop them. Put on a couple medium lasers or something for close support if you need to, or small pulse lasers if you want to take out infantry. But these SRM2s, they are literally hamstringing this mech because that, those 8 rounds on the LRM-15, you're out. You're tapped out by the time you're really taking severe enough damage to go through the side torso. So I blame the SRM2s. But overall, 83.7%, it's not terrible. We've seen better. I think a Wolverine's like in the 80s. So at the end of the day, it's slow, it's easy to hit, you can wear it down. I guess that's a big takeaway if you're fighting against one of these things, but again, you can see the ammo distribution there. You have a 1 in 4 chance of hitting an ammo bin in the left torso. about a 1 in 5 chance in the right torso. So that's it. That's the story of defensive benchmarking. So let's take a look at the mobility. I don't expect to be blown away here. Okay, so actually better than expected. This thing really doesn't see a lot of degradation. You know, you go from a 2 to a 1.7. Motive hits are almost non-existent. What I found interesting about this mech, and of course all inner sphere mechs really are so penalized by this, the fact that the double heat sinks take up 3 slots, you can't put them in the legs. So the King Crab at 4 of 6 in the left leg, 5 of 6 in the right leg in terms of critical slots. So if you get through that leg armor, basically on the left side, you're guaranteed to slow this thing down. On the right side, pretty close, 80%, you know, actually probably higher than that with the roll again. But let's call it 80% plus that you're going to actually end up hitting, you know, one of those actuators or a hip. So, you know, that's sort of tough on the inner sphere side because there's really nothing you can do about that. I mean, you don't really want to pad it out with ammo. You're not going to put weapons in there. So in the clan invasion era, I noticed this is like a sort of a trend with inner sphere mechs, especially when we do the Lost Tech comparos. I tend to see mechs that don't have jump jets in the legs, right, really suffering from those motive hits more frequently than, you know, than the Succession War era's cousins, because again, the double heat sinks versus the single heat sinks. So interesting side note. Let's get into the efficiency. I'm curious to see where the King Crab will stack up. I love it. It is a god amongst its peers. Look at that. Pretty freaking good, if I do say so myself. But let's start at the top, and then we'll get down to the efficiency. So the effective benchmark, again, this is our survivability times our optimized damage. You get effective ACD in the purple. So that's 294.2, which is just slightly less. So it's 2.4% less than baseline. So still not bad. Overall, you're seeing a 6.1% damage loss. That's very good. And that's really because most of your damage is being dealt throughout you know, the sort of the benchmark, right? It doesn't just come on at short range. It's pretty substantial across the board. And so when you are taking those deaths, you know, it's not taking out as big of a chunk out of the mech. Now, when we do get to efficiency, this mech almost pegging the scale there, 9.46 out of 10 on efficiency. Now, some mechs, I will admit, they do go above 10. There are a couple clanners out there and a couple IS mechs as well that go above 10. And if you notice in the gunnery sensitivity analysis with a better gunner, this mech can do the same. But in our benchmark, we use gunnery 2, and so there it is, 9.46. That is incredible bang for your buck right there, guys. Again, you know, 2,200 points doing this kind of damage. That is a bargain. So if you remember, baseline on the Warhawk was 330 points, I believe. That mech was something like 3,400 BB, so 1,200 battle value more. And you're doing about 30 more points of damage over those 12 turns. Now, again, I know there's a premium there for that targeting computer and the tactical flexibility that adds. I don't want to get into that here. This is not a comparo, but I just wanted to point it out. This mech, very good bang for your buck. Okay, so the threat assessment of this King Crab variant looking pretty good. It does have a peak alpha strike of 62 points of damage. That comes in at 9 inches. Incidentally, that is where it can build up the most heat. 9 points at 9 inches. It can really start taking on heat at 10 inches when firing everything. The peak ACD is 44 at 6 inches. So peak ACD really tells us where it's optimum to alpha strike. And this is where you're going to get the most return on that heat investment. And that really happens, you know, if you look at the bars, you can see anywhere between that 7 to 3 inch range is really where you're doing a nice chunk of damage there. You know, you're not looking at too heavy on the minimum range penalties, but you know, overall, I think the mech can be really tremendous in that segment. Threat envelope looking really good. Gauss rifle on each arm. Obviously, you can twist, you can turn, you can move your arms, you can fire directly behind you if you find yourself outflanked. Overall, I think this mech has really good coverage, real good distribution of weapons. If you happen to lose the left side of your mech, well, at least the left arm and some weapons in the left torso, you know, you still have quite a bit of weaponry there on the right side to sort of balance it out. So overall, not so bad. Very symmetrical there in terms of just the general threat envelope. So rolls. thought about this one for a little bit. So I really think that this mech makes a really good brawler. Again, we saw that, you know, it is most effective in that 7 to 3 inch range. Now, you know, immediately your mind says, well, what the hell, you know, twin Gauss Rifles, LRM, this is a fire support mech. I agree, it's that too. But this mech can definitely get in there and scrap really well. Those Streak SRMs, although I was, you know, digging on them earlier in the defensive side, if you've got them, use them. So I think that, you know, those in conjunction with the Gauss, in conjunction with the large pulse laser, you can actually turn out a pretty decent amount of damage here at close range from this mech. Other roles, again, we talked about fire support, totally agree with you. I mean, you can sit this mech back and lob in Gauss slugs and LRM 15 shots, and you can do a pretty decent amount of damage with that, just in and of itself. And then on the fire support side, the other thing to note here is the mech is really capable of moving, shooting. You don't have to worry about any heat buildup, right? Those Gauss rifles build up 1 point of heat, and you're getting 15 points of damage out of them. So where you might run into heat problems at close range, you're not going to have that problem at long range. So if you aren't real good with heat management, or you prefer to keep this mech running on the cool side, I think fire support's a better role for it. Somewhere in between those is really a defender role, and I mean, really, I guess you could also play this mech as a frontliner as well. I think in the defense role, it's probably less likely to get targeted up front. The only thing about the front line is, like, it's a little slow. It is a little bit hard to get that full mod up. So I don't know. I feel like, to me, you go up one hill, you go in one light woods, you have to cross a river. This thing just like bogs down. So that's why I chose defender over frontline, is really because of the speed profile. But yeah, I mean, this mech can definitely play in that defense role, I think, really well. Mechs will have to come to you, again, if you're defending a base or a key objective. This mech can stay mobile, but still deliver a ton of damage, kind of patrolling the objective, if you will. That's kind of how I would play this thing. But anyway, guys, I think I'm done running through the stats here out of the Battlytics engine. I'm curious, what do you think about this King Crab? Is this better than the other King Crabs out there? Is this one of the best? I know in Alpha Strike, when I played against Dan, he used it, and it was just lethal. The thing was just shredding me all over the place. I have not used this particular variant in Classic yet, but very curious as to your opinions on it. So post it up in the comments. And while you're at it, give us a like, subscribe. If you haven't already, please do so. Check out all of our mechs on Battlytics.com. And if you want to buy one of these sweet King Crabs, guys, go check them out on AriesGamesAndMinis.com. That's our sponsor. He's got all of the mechs you could possibly want, and more. So check that out. And, again, Battlytics, DFAWargaming.com, Facebook, Instagram, we're all over the place. So always love to hear from you there as well. But guys, that's it. I'm done marketing. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned. Always more great stuff coming from Death from Above Wargaming. Have a great night.